You opened CapCut again, and part of you already knew you were going to close it. The file was right there, the same one from 3 days ago. You scrolled the timeline for a minute, maybe two. Then you closed it. You feel like a fraud before you have done a single thing. But your hesitation is not the problem you think it is. You have been waiting for a feeling to arrive that only moving can create. Every week your channel sits unfinished, you lose a video you will never get back. There is a specific reason you keep stopping, and it is not the one you think. Here is what you have told yourself. That the people who are actually doing this just feel different from you. That you wake up and the work pulls you forward and there is no friction, no stalling, no sitting in front of a timeline wondering why your hands will not move. And that the reason you keep closing CapCut is that you are not there yet. That the feeling has to come first. That once you finally feel like someone who does this, you will start doing it. That is the thing that is quietly costing you everything. Because you have probably already done more than you think. And most people never catch it until the channel is already dead. You scored a topic in vidIQ, you found the angle, you know the niche. The idea is not the problem. The problem is that you are waiting. You are not opening the file, you are closing the app. You are coming back tomorrow, and tomorrow you will do the exact same thing. Does any part of you actually believe that the hesitation means you do not belong here? Because what does it mean that you already know the niche, you already have the angle, and the file is still sitting there unopened? Here is what is actually happening when you close CapCut without touching the timeline. But something is happening underneath that you cannot see yet. There is a name for it, and it explains exactly what your brain is doing to you. Baumeister and his colleagues called it identity foreclosure without enactment, and in plain terms, it means this. Your brain has put identity before action, when the relationship only ever works the other way around. Smart, driven people are not exempt from this. If anything, the more you invest in thinking of yourself as someone who creates, the harder the trap closes. You are waiting to feel like an entrepreneur before you behave like one. But that feeling is not something you can summon before you start. It is a receipt your brain issues. You only get it after the behavior, never before it. You are caught in a loop that feeds itself every day you wait. So the longer you wait for the feeling to arrive so that you can finally start moving, the longer you guarantee it cannot come. Because the only thing that produces it is the thing you are waiting to feel ready to do. That is why you can spend 40 minutes building out a content calendar in Notion for a channel that has nothing uploaded this month, but cannot open CapCut and cut a single pause from a clip that is already recorded and sitting in your folder. You are not blocked because you are not an entrepreneur. You are blocked because you have the sequence backwards. And until that sequence flips, your folder stays full and your channel stays empty. That pattern has a name, and it is costing you more than time. There are 3 specific tools that fix exactly that sequence, and every one of them comes from peer-reviewed behavioral science, not productivity culture, not motivational content. The first tool is called the evidence ledger, and it comes from research Roy Baumeister and his colleagues ran at Case Western Reserve in 1998. The finding is simple, but it changes everything about how you talk to yourself when you are stalled. Baumeister's team discovered that your sense of who you are does not update through what you believe about yourself. It updates through what you can point to. Affirmations do not move the needle much. Evidence does. That distinction is the exact thing most creators never figure out. When you can recall specific actions you actually took, your brain files those as data points about the kind of person you are. And that filing is more durable, more convincing, and more resistant to doubt than any confidence you could try to manufacture in your head before you open the app. Here's what you do right now. Manufactured confidence collapses the moment anything goes wrong. Open your phone's Notes app and create a list titled Proof I Am Building. Then go back 30 days and write down every single action you have taken toward your channel, no matter how minor it felt. You searched a topic in vidIQ. You opened CapCut. What you find on that list might genuinely unsettle you. You wrote 3 lines of a script, then closed the laptop. You watched a tutorial with the intention of applying it. Nothing is too small. You are not building a highlight reel. You are building a case file. When the list is done, read it once, slowly, then close it. That is it. The list does not feel like much, but it works because your brain cannot argue with a record the way it can argue with a feeling. The problem is that a list of past actions only covers what already happened. It cannot tell your brain what kind of person shows up today. And what it cannot cover is the part that actually breaks people. The second tool is called behavioral identity casting, and it solves something the evidence ledger cannot touch. The ledger reaches back. This reaches forward. It tells your brain who is walking into the next 8 minutes before those 8 minutes begin. Most people skip this step and wonder why nothing sticks. The technique comes from Daryl Bem at Cornell, published in 1972 in the Psychological Review. And the finding is genuinely strange the first time you hear it. Bem's research showed that you figure out who you are the same way you figure out who anyone else is, by watching what you do. That finding should disturb you, because it breaks what you believed about yourself. You are not reading some deep internal truth about yourself and then acting from it. You are watching yourself act and drawing conclusions afterward. Which means the identity does not have to come first. It never had to. You have been waiting at the wrong door. So here is what you actually do. Before you open CapCut today, say out loud or type into a blank document, "I am the kind of person who finishes things." Then open CapCut within 10 seconds of saying it. Not after you check your phone, not after you make coffee. 10 seconds. That 10-second window is where most people quietly lose the day. Work on the file that is already there for exactly 8 minutes. Do not evaluate what you are producing. Quality is not the job right now. Miss that window and your brain files the opposite data point instead. The job is to let the behavior confirm the statement. Because the moment you act in line with what you said, your brain has a new data point. And Bem's work tells us that data point lands harder than you expect. The ledger showed your brain what you have already done. This plants the flag on who you are right now. But there is one more layer, and it is the one that determines whether any of this actually sticks when real life pushes back. The third tool is called the minimum viable proof point, and it comes from B.J. Fogg at Stanford's Persuasive Technology Lab. It solves the one thing both previous techniques cannot guarantee, that you will actually do something today when resistance is at its highest. This is the layer where everything built so far can still collapse. Fogg spent years studying why habits collapse, and what he found was surprisingly simple. What he found contradicts almost everything productivity culture tells you to do. In 2019, he published the formal research, and the core finding was this. When you attach a new behavior to something you already do every day, eating, making coffee, finishing a call, and you shrink that behavior down to its absolute smallest possible form, 2 things happen. You do it consistently because the trigger is already built into your day. That gap between action size and identity credit is where the leverage hides. And your brain gives you a disproportionately large sense of identity credit for completing it, far larger than the size of the action would suggest. A tiny action, done, does more for who you believe you are than a big action you almost did. So here's the specific version for where you are right now. Not edit the video. Not finish the script. Get this wrong and the first 2 tools dissolve inside a week. Find the single smallest action that moves your current video 1 step forward. Cut the 3-second pause at 0:47. Write the first sentence of your hook. Trim the dead air at the end. Write that one action on your phone lock screen. After your next meal today, do only that. Stop when it is done. The person who does all three of these things is not waiting to feel like an entrepreneur. They have stopped making that trade, feeling first, building second, and started making the other one. That is who you are now. That gap is smaller now. Not gone, but smaller. And you know exactly what fills it. Because here is what is true about you now. You are not someone who is waiting to feel ready before you build. You watched this. You stayed. You followed the logic all the way through. And that is not what you do when you are a passenger. That is what you do when you are a builder. The export button is not a finish line. It is just the next piece of evidence about who you already are.